Let's talk more about today's developments. Syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer is in Washington tonight. Charles, first on the Labor Secretary nominee stepping back in what has been not a great week for the Trump administration.
Well, it was a pretty easy call in the end. It was too heavy a lift for too small a payoff. This is not a major cabinet position. It was clear that the nominee had a lot of idiosyncratic issues and that he had a lot of opposition from Republicans. Look, not one administration in the last 20, 30 years has gone without losing at least one cabinet nominee. So this is no great catastrophe. The timing is bad. It's a bad week. It adds to the sense of disarray, or at least being in retreat, but in the scheme of things, it's very minor.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, nobody could have guessed that former Senate Majority Leader Tom Daschle wouldn't get in the Obama administration in 2009. What about the visit by Bibi Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, and your take of the interaction there at that news conference about not only the settlements, but also the two-state, one-state solution as President Trump talked about it?
Well, for Bibi and for the Israelis, it was an unbelievably successful event. I thought Bibi was going to break into song at one point. First of all, when the two-state solution is no longer the Holy Grail. It is the most likely. It's still the most supported around the world. But it was a good thing to break the taboo of speaking about other possibilities. And remember, it only came into effect 17 years ago, and this is a 60-year conflict. It was a long time when people had other ideas. So that's number one. The pressure for a Palestinian state is lessened on Israel. And it's a way of saying to the Palestinians, you conduct a terror, you teach your children to hate. We're not going to reward you in advance with statehood unless you do it in negotiations. And I think people misunderstand the settlement issue. That was Trump doing Netanyahu a favor. Netanyahu is under pressure from his right wing to hugely expand settlements. He doesn't want to do it. He's never been a settlement fanatic. And what they're going to do, I guarantee you, the administration will end up with an agreement with the Israelis to return to the understanding in a letter that George W. Bush wrote to the Israelis in 2004, in which the settlement issue is dealt in this way. No new settlements, no expansion of the territory on which settlements are located. However, you can thicken the settlements by adding housing inside. That was the understanding. It was abandoned by Obama unilaterally in what was a betrayal of the Israelis, and that's where I think they're going to end up, and that will suit both sides and take the settlement issue off the table.
Last thing quickly, Charles, about the investigations that will be called for and are being called for by both Republicans and Democrats about the connection to Russia and the communications. Do you think this is just the beginning, and do you think that there is a lot of there?
Well, we do know that a lot of the there was Paul Manafort. He had extensive dealings with the Russians. He was the campaign manager for a while. If that's all it is, we knew about that during the campaign. That's not really new news. But if it turns out there were other high officials who are now in the government, or if there was extensive negotiations or talks between Flynn and the Russians, and in particular Russian spies, that would be an issue. But we don't know. These are leaks that are suggestive. You can imagine what might be, but as yet there is no proof. The New York Times said that there is no evidence that there was any cooperation between the Trump administration on the interference in the election with the Russians. So as of yet, there's nothing.
Okay, Charles, as always, thank you.